Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. We're excited to have two presentations this evening, but we have to go through a few odds and ends before we get there, but we'll try to be quick. This is the one meeting that I call to order once a year, just because we have to elect a chair and vice chair this evening. But before we do that, I'd ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So first order of business we'll do is elect a chair, but first I'd like to congratulate Jamie Dorr and Jen Rich Smith for being reelected to the school board. They were sworn in at an earlier date. And next is 3.0 is nomination of election of board chair. And according to policy BDB, the board shall elect from its membership a chair and a vice chair. So we'll start with the chair, and I'd invite any board members to nominate a chairperson at this time.
I'd like to nominate Lou Ensel for board chair.
Second by Jen. Any other nominations for chair? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor of Lou Ensel as chair? All right. Unanimous. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
I'll let you take over from here and we'll elect a vice chair.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for your trust in me. Really enjoy being on the board and working with all of you. Now we need a for vice chair. So their nomination for vice chair. That's you, babe.
I'd like to nominate Jamie Dorr.
And second, Jennifer, thank you. And any other nominations for vice chair? All right, all in favor of Jamie for vice chair? And we're unanimous. Great. Thank you. So we'll start it, it's a new calendar year, and obviously not a new school year, but this is how we operate. People are reelected in November and then we start again officially in January. So it's kind of odd because it doesn't go with the school year itself. But again, thank you all. Appreciate your trust and again, just enjoy working with everyone. A lot of important work to do. So moving ahead, we'd like to approve the minutes. 6.0, approve the minutes from November 27th. You all recall we didn't make it for a December meeting as the weather was really bad that day and it was too close to Christmas anyway. All right, so do I have any comments, concerns about the minutes? If not, may I have a motion to approve? Oh, yeah, that's right, you did.
I move to approve as written.
Okay, and a second? Second by Patty. All right. All in favor? Okay. So we approve that. Move on. Adjustments to the agenda. I believe there's one. Patrick?
Yeah, just one overnight field trip for Special Olympics that will happen before our next meeting or close to our next meeting. So if we could put that as Lou and I were talking 14.3B on the agenda.
So it'll be right after. It'll be right after the other field trip approval. Okay. Any other adjustments or things to move? Okay. Public session, if there's anybody here that's not part of the presentation that are either presentation or even if you are, that you feel you want to speak on any topics at hand. Okay. Then we're going to move right to it, and I'm going to hand it over to Patrick to introduce our guests.
So first off, thank you, students and parents, for coming out tonight. I know it's one more night you have to be out, but thank you for your support. I do appreciate it. And we try to have a different group come in every month, and we like to have students come in, and the work that the leadership team has been doing at Woolwich has been impressive, and we'd like to hear from them tonight and have you guys learn what they're doing, at Woolwich Central School. So we have Mr. Libby here, we have Miss Hoskins here, Miss Dimbleby is here from the staff, and then I just want to recognize all of the students that are on the leadership team, and hopefully I don't miss anybody, but I have Emmy Pinkham, Cameron Griffey, Charlie Bachman, Lily Newman, Gracie Marquis, Maddie Green, Sophia Wright, and Amelia Delano. And so I know not everybody is here tonight. I think we're missing 3, but we're ready for you. And again, thank you for being here.
Okay, good evening. So I'm step out of the way and let them talk. I'm just here for moral support. But I just wanted to say before I did step out of the way, this was kind of an idea we had, or I had, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 years ago, when early on in my being a principal at Woolwich. And I just really want to thank Ashley Hoskins and Aaron Dimbleby for the time they put into meeting with these students. And I'm going to let the students tell you all that they've been doing. But I just want to take a moment to recognize them for all that effort and kind of leading the group. So thank you.
Technical difficulties for just a second. It seems to be lagging a bit. Perfect, thank you.
This is the WCS Student Leadership Team. Our advisors are Mrs. Hoskins and Mrs. Dimbleby. Our members of the Student Leadership Team are Cameron Griffey,
8th grade.
Maddie Green,
8th grade.
Sophia Wright,
7th grade.
Gracie, who couldn't come here, Emmy Pinkham, who couldn't come, me, Charlie, Malia Delano,
7th grade.
and Lily Newman, who couldn't come. This is a photo of us when we went to the leadership thing at Hyde School.
The importance of student leadership. Our student leadership team helps accomplish school-wide goals. We also help peers our age to speak up. If our peers have problems or concerns, we can be advocates. We are role models by representing the Woolwich way. Thank you.
Some of our student leadership goals are to serve as ambassadors for the student body, participate in various activities to grow as leaders, promote the core values of our school, work together to accomplish projects, and plan activities to have a positive impact on our school community.
Some student leadership core values are, as we call, ROAR, realistic, open/approachable, action-oriented, and reliable. So realistic is keeping goals within your parameters. So like what would be possible for us to do. For like open and approachable, it's about able to work with many different people and put other less important things aside to get those other things needed. And action oriented, and so that's basically like setting goals and keeping things moving forward throughout. And then reliable is maintaining the commitment to the student leadership team.
The impact that we have made on WCS. Some things that we've done is we've planned a dance, actually more than one, and we're planning on planning another one. We've attended the leadership conference at Hyde School. Some of the school spirit help with the trimester awards assemblies and manage Scratch, which is our mascot, and helping him like be for the whole school. Recess improvements, we've been, because we're trying to get the Gaga pit back up and getting basketball hoops up. Woolwich Way, the swag store, which is up on the 3rd floor for if you have Woolwich Wow tickets, and Monday whole school announcements by each one of us.
The Maine Youth Leadership Day. In November, we joined several hundred other students from across Maine to participate in Maine Youth Leadership Day at Hyde School in Bath. We learned about ourselves and what it takes to be a leader. We learned different aspects of leadership. We spent the day attending workshops, various topics such as confidence building, mindfulness, executive functioning, team building, leadership styles, mentoring, and leading through motivating others.
Some leadership qualities are courageous, self-respecting, approachable, honest, motivated, empathetic, determined, and dependable. So, like if there is something happening in the school, we have to be honest about what is happening. And if we have a goal, we have to be motivated on reaching that.
Any questions?
Great, thank you very much. It's a great presentation. Questions from the board? Patty, go ahead.
So what would you say is your biggest takeaway from the Hyde event?
I think that it taught me to be like a better leader. There was a lot of fun activities that we did.
There's a lot of different ways to be a leader, and everyone has their own way of doing things.
I enjoyed all the activities that we did to bring each other closer and learn about each other.
I like the activities to learn how to be a better leader.
I liked the activities to be a leader, but also learning that about the different aspects of leadership.
Other questions? Jen?
It's like a default, go to me for questions, because she always has one. So I guess I'd be interested in how much your team gets to work both with students, but also with staff. Like, do you guys, is there like a meeting time that you get to be able to talk to the different teachers, the different administrators in the building to say, here's the kind of concerns or questions that we're having? Well, all right, that's great.
Oftentimes if we really need to get something done, then we'll have a meeting with the staff, but oftentimes we don't have a meeting with the staff.
Okay. And then my second question was kind of what Patty's question was, but just curious, when you went to Hyde, was that the first time you guys were ever on that campus, or had you been on the campus before?
Some of us have been on the leadership team for longer, and they did it last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I've been on it before, and I think some of us have.
Okay, cool, thanks.
What is something, if you look back over the time that you've been on the leadership team, that you're most proud of? And don't feel obligated to answer if you can't think.
I think planning those dances, because a lot of kids liked the dances, and it was like a big hit.
I just think helping our school is really important, and there was a lot of cool stuff that happens.
Having the voice for some of like the middle school students who like don't want to like go to the teachers so they can like talk to us, like for initiative, like with the basketball hoop. So yeah.
So my one plug is, it's really great doing this leadership thing. Just remember, we always have students on this board, and it's a really, really wonderful thing. So I know it's kind of in the future, but just to keep that in your mind, it's really wonderful to be able to be a student representative for this board. Thanks.
Good advertising. Yeah, that would be for your junior and senior year. You come on as a junior and then as a senior. So you got some time to think about it. Did you have anything else? Katie?
I'm curious, amongst your same age peers, what have you found the trickiest thing to being a leadership role model?
I think it's hard because people would want some things, and then it's like someone has one opinion and someone has another opinion. It's hard to like make them agree.
Sometimes things that students want are like too expensive and we can't get them for them. And so we have to settle for something a bit cheaper that may not satisfy them as much.
Kind of like Charlie said, but like having like most of the people agree is a little bit harder because everybody has their own opinion.
That's always a good challenge. If you can learn how to work that out, then you're ahead of the game. You'll be dealing with that your whole life. Kurt, did you have? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you did. All right. Anything? Thank you very much. It was great to see you all up here and do everything and talk about what you're doing. And I hope it motivates you to remain leaders as you come up into high school, because we always need more student leaders. So thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Woolwich families, you guys can leave if you'd like. Although we do have a Woolwich staff person doing the next presentation, but it's okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. So next we have in the fall of 21, we started developing the educational plan, and we've had a committee you've known for a couple years now. And once we finalized the plan for accountability purposes, we said that we would come in the first year. We would come twice, once around Christmas time and then once in May, June. And Mary Moran is our facilitator for this group this year. And we just thought, what better way to do this than just have her come and kind of give a progress report on how we're doing on these goals of our educational plan. And this input that Mary is going to share tonight, and then I'll be quiet and let her go because she'll probably already has it in her notes, but this came from the leadership and design team members working with their staff, collaborating with administrators to try to give as honest, on things that we're doing well in the educational plan, and then areas that we still need to focus on, because this is we've said from the beginning, it's from a 2022 to a 2025 kind of guideposts for us. So I'll stop there, and Mary, thank you for being here tonight, and she's going to give you an overview and then open it up for any questions you might have.
Yeah, thanks. So kind of like Patrick just said, what we took after you guys approved the education plan, which we were glad to be moving forward with it. And it's actually been kind of nice too. A side note, Judy is now no longer facilitating, even though she'll be a resource for us. So we're kind of on our own again, and which was good just to see how it works. And it's just a nice group representative of the district. And we all kind of, I think, wondered when Judy was gone, how would that change? And it really didn't. I think if anything, it made us kind of more focused on our intention. But along that was the next step was, how are we going to keep you guys up to date, like Patrick said? And so we basically took the education plan, we went back to staff. What are we doing right now that's in place and working well? What is not in place at all we need to be working on? Or even where do we not so much agree that it's in a good place or not? And so we did that as a staff, and then we met with our principals and Patrick to kind of decide what are building concerns and then what are district concerns and how are we approaching those. So then when we got together as a whole team, we broke off to really go through everybody's notes to get a sense of clarity around, are there things we all don't know that are going on in different schools and that kind of thing, and where might they overlap? Which then brought us to this, what you guys see in front of you, which is the 4 goals. And not every single note obviously is in here. So that's where, like Patrick said, if there's questions, we can certainly clarify. But we figured the big ideas that you would want to know mostly from district more so than building. So as you look at it, you'll see there's the goal, the current practices in place. We kept it pretty concise, so I can elaborate on any that you like. And then the things to consider, I mean, there's a lot of things we're still considering, but we tried to narrow in what are the things that we felt across the board were things that we kind of reoccurring themes of what we need to be working on. So if you look at the first one, the goal to ensure there are high quality educators and administrators in each building. The beauty of this is you'll see there's a lot more in practice than there are to consider. So that was very reassuring. But peer observations, just as an example for things to consider. We've been talking about that, I know, at individual buildings for so long. And we just thought if it was something that was collaborative with the administrative team to make happen, and what will that look like? So there's some consistency. And then if, again, just kind of going through, if you go down to goal 2 and on the back, Staffing needs for interventions. I think, tongue in cheek, there's never enough people in education. And at the same time, it's not always the people, it's their preparedness and what they're doing. So there's a lot of RTI work still happening and just getting going within the middle schools and high schools. It's still sort of evolving. And you can't just always plug in new people. So, Katie can speak to this more, but how are we utilizing the current staff and not just support staff in that? It could be any position that has available time that would meet a need of a particular student, whether it be behavior or academics. And so that's kind of always working through. And then I'm just going to keep going down and I'll go back if you guys have questions. Goal 3, the SEL, the ACEs and trauma, it came up. And this was, again, what I think is the beauty of this team existing. It came up from some support staff saying how if you're in, special ed at any kind of tier 2 or tier 3, you tend to have more training in some capacities around ACEs and that, and especially with newer staff, has everyone been trained and should we? So again, that decision of do we just train amongst ourselves in our buildings? Is it a district decision? And then just going down again, I'll just keep going, Goal 4. The PR person may benefit from more connections to staff, and that's something that's been reoccurring as well is, example of Woolwich, Jason can't know every single project and every single thing going on. And it comes up in conversation, but not in a way that's consistent enough. And we thought, one, to be fair for her, but then also just to get the word out there because there's a lot of good things happening in all the buildings. But I will say one of the takeaways from me personally is we did keep coming back to, I think for as much as we might complain and moan about the things that aren't working or what we want better for kids, we're really fortunate as a district, whether you just think of within the state of Maine, within the country, honestly, within the world, we have so many great resources and it's so easy to lose sight of that. So I think this is also going to bring us back to reality, that the grass is not always greener and ours is pretty green. And I'm a major moaner. So I say that knowing that there's lots of things I can complain about, but at the same time, just to honor the good things we have going. So with that being said, are there questions or you can certainly clarify more or add more?
Questions, concerns, clarification?
And along those lines too, if this format or there's something different you want to see, you get it, something that can evolve over time too.
So tell me again, where are you in the process? I mean,
I think, and Patrick and Katie certainly speaking, we're ready to go. Kind of, we're moving forward. In fact, it's even come up in several curriculum meetings, or the tech. We just had a tech meeting the other day, and we talked about, okay, where's the buy-in going to be? How are we going to really push these out to teachers, especially the ones who aren't so interested? And it kept coming back. Well, it's in the education plan, so we're going to be coming back to it on a regular basis. So I think it's going to be more of a reference, and then with our team meeting regularly to give input, I think is where it will come from.
So it's already ready for that.
Yeah, great. I think we're in that place now.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have more meetings this spring, and so our focus has changed from helping to create the educational plan to now kind of monitoring it, possibly refocusing it when it needs to be, making tweaks to it based from feedback from staff and from the educational team, the leadership and design team. So again, we're going to meet a couple times this spring, and then we'll bring back another kind of accountability update progress report to you, so you can see the things that are on current practices in place are the things that the team felt like we were doing well, and then the things to consider are things that we need to improve upon or put more of a focus on in these 4 areas.
Yeah, so I would say truly, I mean, it's in action at this point. It's definitely a working, living document. All right, well, thank you. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Committee report, Finance Committee.
Yeah, just to give a quick update, Finance met in December 7th. And Hank came in and gave us a financial overview, which included things such as fund balance, revenues, expenditures, distribution. So it gave us that overview that he normally does. And then Deb gave us an update on the federal funds, which she always does at this meeting as well. And then we talked about the FY25 budget schedule. So Hank was the majority of our meeting, and everything looks good. And Deb, I don't know if you want to add anything on that, but.
presentation simplifies things for,
Right. Yeah, and just for the public to know, is just that we had our, our kind of, I guess I call it kickoff in January between the board and the administrative team to talk about, what's going well in our schools, but also what are the needs that we see coming up, or what are our concerns, and especially around, COVID-funded positions that are going away this year. So we had that meeting, and then I don't know, 1st of March will be our first couple of weeks in March will be our first round of kind of in-depth meetings that we'll have with each cost center here in this room. So.
Great. Any questions? Facilities committee?
Patty, feel free to jump in if I forget anything, but the committee talked about the Dyke Newell Fisher Mitchell visioning and site study that will happen this spring. We probably have a committee of close to 20 people now. We have people from Dyke Newell staff, and we have staff from Fisher Mitchell. We are in the process of getting a parent or two that could be from, pre-K or elementary parent. And then we have some administrators on there, and we have 2 community members, and we have two board members on that group. So it's a pretty big group, but our architect feels like it's a good mix. And so I think we start our first meeting is February 8th. And we'll have 2 meetings a month that will take us through June. So by the end of that, we should have our, what I would call ed specs, or kind of our visioning process that we have to address 8 questions from the Department of Education. And then also by hopefully June, or maybe July, August, that site study of the current, or the old, I guess I would say the old Dyke Newell site should be completed by that time as well. And then we just update on projects in the district, and Dennis went over, just work orders that we have, and then talked about winter preparation, which we're already here. So that's it.
Okay. I think we're going to be missing the student board report today. Carolyn didn't hear either. So moving along, now you're back up, superintendent's report.
Just a couple items. Bath Tech Culinary is open, student-run cafe on most Wednesdays. So if anybody out there that's interested, just maybe call Chris in the main office to make a reservation ahead of time, just in case they're booked. Katie handed out something to you tonight, and we've talked about this before, but maybe not in a public session. It's just about our strong unified academics and athletics program that we have here. And in March, we're going to be offering a professional development day, March 7th, for other teachers, other staff members from districts to come here to learn about what we do here, because it's pretty special what goes on here at Morse and Bath Tech. Solar farm, we voted to go into a solar farm with revision. Remember, it was supposed to be in Augusta. Now it's in Pittston. So it's still pretty close. And that is up and it's operationalized. And so it's something where probably in the next couple of months, we'll meet with revision. We'll meet with our energy people just to kind of get a better handle about how our CMP bills are going to be impacted in a good way. And also at some point, start to organize some student field trips that could go up and receive presentations for educational purposes. Morris High School conducting pre-auditions for our spring musical Freaky Friday, and it's tough to beat last year's Addams Family, but I'm sure they'll put a good run in. And so there's a lot of excitement, anticipation, and they're already starting to build the set on Fridays. And then last thing I'll just mention is the NEASC accreditation, which is accreditation for the high school here. It happens this March, and you'll have a chance to be part of that process if you'd like. I think it may even be, they're here on Sunday through a Tuesday, and I think our board meeting is that Monday night. So we might be able to just wrap it around where we could meet with them before the board meeting, and they'll have a list of questions to ask you. So I'll organize that.
When is that again? I'm sorry.
It's at the end of March. So
okay,
it's
so
around
the March meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then Eric will be here and maybe some staff at the next meeting, because the portrait of a graduate, what we want our graduates to have for skills and attributes, that was a piece of work that we needed to develop for this visit, and it would be good for you to share that and talk about it a little bit at the next meeting in February before we meet with them as a group in March. So it's a very thorough group, and we've got our chair, but it's usually, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 people that come here to do the visit. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Patrick? Let's move to financial report. Deb.
Okay, I'm up. It's December, halfway through, hard to believe. So as of the end of December, we're at 47% that we've spent on our, on the expenditure side. And in comparing that with last year we were about 48%. So based upon the method of spending and the timing, we're pretty much on target with where we were last year. Patrick mentioned the solar farm. That's one thing, you know, I've got my eye on for CMP bills. So we have received just one CMP bill, and it's a little bit higher, but then the whole solar farm thing hasn't come through yet with the credits and all that. So in the next couple of months, we should be able to get a good feel of where we're going. But we were in a good deal last time before all these rate changes, because when we went with the New Morse High School, we did lock in to Maine Power Options for like a 5-year contract. So we've been pretty lucky so far with that. So hopefully between the combination of increase in rates and these credits will be where we, you know, have been or want to be.
And then that's just on one side, that's on the supply side, not the delivery side.
Right, right,
Still, one part of the bill is just, that's just the way it is, there's no,
right,
that doesn't change.
right.
It's just supply.
So hopefully that all works out. Transportation, always keeping an eye on, you know, out of district placements and all that. It's been busy in the finance office on the payroll side with end of the year, end of quarter, tax forms, all that. But those are all out. Budget development, all the girls and the administrators in the schools have to have their budgets in by Friday, and then I have to pull it all together. So it'll be busy. On the subsidies, on the revenue side, we're at 53%, about the same as last year. Budget versus actual on tuition, the rates came in, and our revenue is up, will be up about 288,000. So that's good news. The rates came in at 5.24% for elementary and 5.74 for secondary. So it's basically the result of more students and a little bit more in the tuition rates. 8279s came out, and it shows a positive for us of about 326,000. 148 of that is specific to vocational. So we'll probably go over some of those subsidy sheets as budget start to develop, and we can look at those. And finally, I transferred $7 million into a special account for Dyke Newell. We'd been carrying it in our regular cash account, and now it's in its own cash account, and the interest that it earns will stay there. And so we'll start spending that as we move forward. That's it.
That's great. Any questions?
No?
No, I think everybody's okay. Great. Thank you so much. Glad to move that money into the account.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that 7 million on here somewhere? Am I missing?
No. It's in a special account.
All right, great. Where are we at? Fundraiser requests?
Yeah, that's just a page in your backup. It's just more FYI, just again, so you know what's going on and that we're not, we're not overburdening our communities with asking for too much. Again, Kim does a great job of getting this from the secretaries and principals. I can't promise you that it's everything from now until June, but it's a very good start. I mean, there'll be a few maybe here and there that might come in, but it gives you an idea.
Great. Thank you. Moving on to old business. So we have second reading of some policies. And while I think most of them, the majority of them are pretty straightforward. We'll kind of take them one by one because I know I have some questions. I think others might about the transportation. So if we could have a brief discussion about that. So it's not so much 13.1, I don't think, but within 13.2, there's been some questions. We got some emails regarding the drop off of students kindergarten to second grade and who needs to be there to pick them up. And I would, if you would, Patrick, just remind us again, because the last time we discussed it was November, kind of why this comes up, what the reasoning is, and some options for moving forward.
Yeah, in the district, it's, prior to this, it's always been kindergarten students, and that a designee had to be a parent or guardian, or designee had to be present. And, we have had a couple, I guess I would say, examples over the last couple of years, not a lot, but a couple examples, unfortunate examples where, a kindergarten student was dropped off without someone present. And, luckily, fortunately, everything worked out fine. But there was one of those that, it could have been a lot worse. And so it led us to obviously take care of the issue and address it. But secondly, it made us kind of have the conversation as a district about, what is the right age? Is it kindergarten? Is it, first grade? Is it second grade? And I think, the majority of the principals and some staff that we talked to, we're feeling like, maybe it shouldn't just be kindergarten. It should be, grade 1 up to grade 1, grade 2. And, and one of our bigger schools is Dyke Newell, and it's K-2. And bus drivers can't always know exactly which grade every student is in. So for those bus drivers that do handle Dyke Newell, it would be, some of it would be for efficiency purposes, but it was really about like safety of dropping students off without being someone present. So that's, we did call around just to, when we change a policy, we try to do a little research. And, our understanding is, 2 of our districts that are nearby to us that we check in with, one is K-1 and the other one is it might even be K-3, that have to have someone present. And so that made us get to this point, today, where we are. And we don't have anything in here as far as wording goes to, to accept something in writing if a parent or guardian does not want this to happen. And I think the board probably needs to have that discussion. We don't have to, like I told Lou, we're not in a rush to proceed with this. We can take some time, but I think it's, as a district, we need to, do we feel like this is important? And if so, do we want to add wording in though that allows, allows a parent or a family to say that I give you permission to drop them off without someone there? We haven't, so to speak, allowed that for K. I mean, if they let us know that there's another person besides them that's going to be there, but at least someone's there. So that's kind of where we're at, if that helps.
Yep, no, that helps a lot. I just wanted to make for the public, because people have been asking, and just to clarify.
And I think, I know some school districts have done it because they're rural. But I also know there's other districts that have done it because they're urban. And so I don't know that there's an answer to that. And like even in our district, I mean, the drop off at Woolwich is a little different, or Phippsburg is a little different than downtown Bath. And one might perceive one of those as being safer than the other. I don't know. But I'll leave it there.
So, so any comments or concerns about how to proceed? Great.
I think it is is worth having the discussion if parents can have, if this, is implemented, if parents can have some kind of, I guess, recourse or some kind of option if they're first or second grade student and the parent feels like they should be able to be dropped off without the parent present. I mean, it's if you think about it, you're kind of, are you opting in or are you opting out? I mean, if you don't want your kid to be dropped off alone, then you'll be there for them currently. So I guess I think we should have that discussion about giving parents options.
Thanks. Other comments? Team?
I think my concern would be the burden that would place on the bus driver, not knowing. I know that for me personally, we're on our second bus driver. And I think maybe we'll be getting a third one. So I worry about that. And even just today in my own personal, I thought I was meeting the bus in one place and my student didn't get off the bus, so I panicked for a second, but then I realized it was a completely different bus and there was more going on. So I think that there's already a lot of confusion. So I think that would be my only concern, is that then we're asking someone who might be on that route for 1 day or 2 days. So that was my only thought. And I wondered if any other representatives had been contacted, or if it was just the Bath folks. If anyone from Pittsburgh or Woolwich had mentioned anything.
Yeah, but I think, but has there been some stuff online too that we've seen of concerns? I'm not sure which way.
I
Is it-
think that most of the parents that were in that discussion were in Bath.
And were they for or against, or it was a mix? So it's a mix of, so there's some bit of a, sounds like maybe some confusion. Yeah, Jennifer.
I think I remember one of the things we were talked about in the policy committee when we were talking about this was how we would look at a beginning year first grade student. And so from, classroom work, kids kind of are the year before until they get a little way into the year. So if we were thinking that that was something that we really wanted to ensure for kindergartners, we were thinking of, well, what happens, what is like a September first grader? Really is on that kindergarten, more developmental cycle of, and so it really kind of melded into that reasoning, at least for first grade, that if you're going to do it for part of the year, it kind of makes sense to really give that opportunity for, emotional development and awareness of what's going on. So for that safety piece, I do think that it does make sense to try to make things as consistent as possible for our bus drivers, because they are the ability for our kids to go to school, for our schools to run really without bus drivers. Not that parents shouldn't have the right. They actually should have the right to allow for that. But, I was wondering if that might be something that if we implemented, the requirement for first grade and then said, okay, maybe, we could look at second grade and see how that works further down. I don't know if it was an option to help them. I didn't know if the parents that were really concerned what grade their students were in generally.
I was just going to ask if it would be possible or to survey all K through 2 parents, just to see what the general consensus is. And if it's, it could be a clear winner either way, because it's going to impact the parents the most. So maybe just getting more input from them.
Any other? Katie, were you going to say something? Did you want to? You sure? Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea, just in terms of just making sure it's clear, because some of it obviously is making it simpler for the bus drivers, so all the kids it's consistent and they're coming off. But is it? Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides on this, but it's a tough one. But yeah, did you have something?
And just a quick question, and not maybe with some comments on what the hardship would be just to go out and meet your kindergartner or first grader. I mean, presumably they're home, right? So waiting, or somebody's there for the child. I don't know if that's an option. Just kind of get comments if you did a survey, like I'm for it, I'm against it, and here's why. But I mean, presumably they're home or someone's home, right? So I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I think I've only received one email about this. I think we all received it on Saturday, and I think the argument was that it's giving kids independence. And I guess my thought about consistency, right now it's just K, right? So it's pretty inconsistent right now for the Dyke Newell bus drivers. I don't know about the Woolwich bus drivers or.
Yeah, I mean, we
But-
obviously we manage it, and it's been that way for quite a while. So they have to know, who are the kindergarten students with the help of our secretaries and our staff. But that first week of school is a tough one because that's when you got a full bus and your priority is safety, and that's where you could make. That's where there could be some confusion, even though I think overall we've done a decent job at that.
I don't know how other schools do it, but in Phippsburg, they line up 5th, 4th, 3rd. So the last kids to board are the kindergartners, of course, and then they all have to sit in front. So the bus driver knows who's in which grade and the back guy. So presumably they could do that for 1st grade or 2nd grade or wherever they decide the kids in these seats need to be monitored more. So.
Okay, so how would you all like to proceed then? Go ahead, Kurt.
I guess what's the reality of a survey? I mean, how possible and what would be the response rate?
I mean, we have an anonymous survey account, and I'm sure the tech department could pump it out to all the families for sure. So it wouldn't be hard to put it out. So yes.
So yes, it could be done. Would that be something that the time frame we'd be able to revisit the next meeting, or would it have to be longer than that?
No, I would think by next meeting, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, we get it out to you before that, and then be able to put this back on the agenda for
Then-
hopefully maybe a decision at the next meeting.
Okay, I think that would be helpful, just so that, and especially if it's surprising any parents out there, we're just continue due diligence to make sure that as we're doing this and, we're hearing from everybody, and if there need to be any caveats here or there a little bit, we can manage that, and we'll hear what they have to say and revisit it next month. Now, so we're going to table 13.2.
All the rest can go if you're comfortable.
Right. So I think what we'd be looking for is a motion would it be separate motions? Does it matter?
I think you just say all, but,
Okay. So, because 13.1 was different, it's transportation, but it didn't involve that. So I'd be looking for a motion that says 13.1, 13.3, and 13.4, unless people wanted to discuss those, that those we would take action on today. And yeah, go ahead.
I move approval of all the policies except 13.1.
13.2
Two.
is the one that
Sorry,
includes. Yeah.
13.2.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion about any of the other ones? Any questions on those policies? No? Okay. Then all in favor? Okay.
we
Unanimous.
do this one's like separately because it's a job.
Oh, okay.
That's what
All right. So 13, oh, right, because it's a job, it's not an actual, oh, right, sorry.
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, the motion.
But yeah, the motion, right, okay. So now we come to 13.4, which is the second reading of 4 different positions, right?
Job descriptions.
Yeah. Job descriptions, and that will be taken up in its own motion. Did anyone have questions on any of these job descriptions and what they entail? No? Okay, well then may I have a motion?
Move to approve the custodian, head custodian, custodial supervisor, maintenance technician job descriptions as written.
Great, and seconded by Jen. And any further discussion? Everyone's good? Okay, all in favor? All right, thanks for clarification, Patrick. And now we move to new business. Katie, you're up. Construction update.
So I have 2 quick grant updates and 2 committee updates. We received $17,000 from the state for a homeless prevention grant, where we are allowed to give $750 a student to anyone who falls under the McKinney-Vento Act or has unstable housing. Or those who are at risk of unstable housing. And so I just wanted the board to know that it's been really lovely to be able to help families pay cell phone bills or for hotels or other items like that. The money does not go directly to the family. They give us their bills and then we pay the bills. And we are also allowed to put surplus into an account. So let's say a cell phone bill is $150. We could put all 750 so they don't have to pay a cell phone bill for a while. And so it's been really nice to be able, families have been really happy. And actually our unaccompanied youth at the high school also get to determine how they want to spend that money. And so that's been really nice for them. We also just got news this past week that we're receiving $68,000 next year from the state for course reimbursement for some of our ed techs and teachers who are working on different levels of their certification. And so we reimburse ed techs and staff members for that education, but we'll be able to send those receipts into the state and get some of that money back because the state's trying to support more people finishing their certification, which is really nice. Yeah, so some good news on the grant front. And then 2 quick updates. I just wanted to bring the board's attention to the school start time article I wrote that was in the district newsletter. Lou and I have continued to have those school start time meetings. It's been going really well, as I wrote in the article. You know, they're each themed depending on which of the barriers to changing school start time the board would need to consider. And so we will probably have, I would say maybe 2 meetings from now, most of the information you'll need to start having a board discussion on that. And from childcare, transportation, athletics, our teachers union, I'll have a write-up for you on all the pros and cons that they have shared in our individual meetings. So you'll have that background information to start thinking about your decision. We're also, speaking of surveys, going to be surveying students, staff, and families. And so you'll also have that information as well on the school start time. And then finally, I also wanted to share that I will be talking to the Bath Tech sending schools in early February. I spoke to them before the pandemic when this all started, and they thought it was a great idea, but just looping them back in. So that will be good. And then Patrick and I were invited to a meeting with Brunswick, MSAD 75, and Freeport, who are just starting this process themselves. And so we're going to do some information sharing, and perhaps they're interested, as are we, in moving forward should all the boards vote for a change as sort of a regional. It would be a lot easier if it was regional. And so we'll keep you updated on that. It does not appear from the subcommittee that's been meeting to report to the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee that there will be any movement at the state level on a full state decision on school start times. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't think that that's going to happen.
Okay.
And then the final update is the administrators and I would like the board to know that we are currently researching the effects of cell phone use for 6th through 12th graders and have read some articles about that and just some research about the brain science around that and mental health. And we've had a few meetings now, and similar to the school start decision, we've done our research, and now we did a vote on whether people felt like they would like to move forward with not having cell phones used amongst students in grades 6 through 12 sometime in the future, and everybody was supportive of it. So We obviously have to do a lot more research and surveying, and we'll have more information for all of you on that. But I just wanted you to be aware that it is a topic we'll be talking about together as a board this spring.
Okay, appreciate that. Yeah, Jen.
Katie, it's wonderful, the news about the reimbursement for courses for certification from the state. Does that require a certain grade level, I think, for reimbursement? Was there a certain grade?
No, I didn't notice that. Yeah, it was by role and what level of, if they were on an emergency waiver, or Kim collected information for me on it today. What else was noted for those categories? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Katie? So you're saying the cell phone one would be what, in the spring sometime?
It would be in the spring.
We would
That we would discuss it.
where things
and
are
then,
and what you're.
And then we would need to make a decision, and obviously involve the community and the students in that decision, and include them in the conversation. And then, our hope, if we choose to move forward with not allowing cell phones, would be to do it as early as next year. That would be a very heavy lift, and that's also assuming we decide to do it,
Right.
which I don't know yet. I'll keep you posted.
Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
School start time wasn't enough for you. No? Let's do something even harder. Okay. That sounds good. Thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing. Really appreciate it, Katie. Okay, now we're on to first reading of board policy EHB records management. No action tonight, but it is the first look at it. If anyone has any questions, doesn't look like there's a lot of change. It's just an update, I assume. So any questions? No? Okay. So we'll revisit that next month. And here we come to two different field trip requests. One was a new one that had been sent to you earlier, and we had another hard copy tonight. That's the Special Olympics. And the first one, which is the Bath Tech going to Skills USA. Bangor, any questions on those? And if okay, I'd like to take them together. If I can have a motion, please.
Move approval.
Okay, and seconded by Jamie. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? And those are both approved. Thank you very much. 15.0, this is, you see a list here they sent out. Thanks for doing that. Kim, appreciate it. These are the boards that you're listed on. If there's any, you want to make a switch or you're loving it or anything else, look it over. Feel free to let us know. Yeah, Kurt.
Right now.
If you want to, if you're feeling passionate about it.
I think I should probably not be part of finance to manage the other responsibilities.
Okay. That's fine. So we'll take you off of finance. All right. Anybody else?
I love the policy committee. It's actually really grown on me.
Yeah, that's fine.
But the challenge has been the time. I know we're talking about maybe finding a different time, but if we're not able to, I'd like to move to the finance.
Okay. Well, why don't you look at what works for you, and then if things shift, then yeah, okay. Anybody else? Since Kurt's shaking it up. All right, great. Thank you all for your participation in that. And now quite a list for Patrick here at 16.0 for personnel items. Retirements.
Yes. So we thought we would take the retirements all at once. So I'm just going to go down through these. So yeah, I think we have 10 people roughly. So first one is Andrew Chipman, music teacher at Bath Middle School and also here at Morse, and like to thank him for 9 years of service to RSU1. Next, we have Ruth Ann Harrison, who works here at Bath Tech as an engineering and architectural design instructor. Thank her for 10 years of service. Karen Curley, social worker at Bath Middle School, 25 years of service. Joanne Powers, who is an academic interventionist at Dyke Newell, 27 years of service. Linda Armstrong, special ed teacher at Fisher Mitchell, 35 years of service. Beverly Gilbert, librarian at BMS for 15 years of service. Kate Brockett, our pre-K teacher at Phippsburg, 11 years of service. Mary McCauley, PE teacher and also outdoor educator at Phippsburg and at Woolwich, 31 years of service. And Tangi Johnston, our social worker at BMS, Dyke Newell, and Fisher Mitchell, and thank her for 7 years of service. And then under resignations, Kyle Tobias, one of our maintenance technicians, I'd like to thank him for 3 years of service. Chantel Poland, an EdTech 2 at BMS for 4 years of service. And Elise Reveley, who is a part-time secretary at Fisher Mitchell. She's actually still going to be in the district, but she's going to be working for Mary Meeting Adult Education. And so we'd like to thank her for 3 years of service to RSU1.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, it's a lot of years of service, and I'd like to thank these people for their commitment and dedication to our district.
Thank you. That's really amazing. Yeah, go ahead.
Question about that. I mean, we're losing a lot of institutional knowledge, and we've been through these changes before. We go through them every so often. It's just the nature of people's careers, but it really it speaks to those people who have a long view of how things are. Maybe natural leaderships or leaders are not in their schools, but how does that impact our staff in general? I know they're not all in one school or something, so it's across the board, but do you see any particular challenges in the kinds of individual experience that people are we going to be having to be filled, or even the challenge of filling any of these individual roles?
Yeah, I mean, some will be more challenging than others based on just the pool of applicants that we get. So there's a couple that'll be more challenging. I mean, obviously from a social work standpoint, I think more about the kids and families, because no disrespect, these people deserve their retirements, but they've just created a bond with our families and students, and so it'll be tougher for them than it will be for us to find replacements in those cases. But yeah, and we do, the principals meet with people, but I also do exit interviews with these people just to pick their brains, to find out what we did well, what we could do better, and any knowledge that they'd like to leave us with that would be helpful. And everybody's always great when they leave here to come in and make that transition as easy as possible.
That's great. It speaks very well of the district. 17.0 board goals. Jennifer?
It's maybe not direct correlations, but I do think that the idea to have a survey about the issue of our transportation really speaks well. And also Katie mentioning the survey that will go out, if we get to that point about cell phone usage. I think it's a good reminder to us to go back and talk to parents and ask parents and get that. So I think that definitely helps us meet our communication goal of number one. And then, I think keeping up on the education plan and how that progresses, I think does help us, look to what's required and what needs to help service our pre-K to 5 programming. So I think we've touched on both those goals this year.
Great. Thank you. And so next meeting date is Monday, February 26th. We're moving right through the winter here. At 6 o'clock here. If there is no further business from anyone. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Yeah, that's fine.
I think we talked at one point about maybe getting to some other schools besides here. And I just didn't know if we have that still on the radar, that maybe we could take the board meeting to other schools to kind of just feel that sense of what those other schools and the environments, and let them kind of get a personal experience with us. I know this is an easy place. The technology's here. It works really well. I miss that we used to do that.
No, that's a good point. And yeah, I think, I don't know what the tech issue is at all the other schools. But we can certainly look at that and see what's possible. And I think if we did that as we did in the past, when we did that, when there's less chance of a snowstorm, I know when we always went down the peninsula or wherever. But yeah, no, that's very well said. Appreciate that. And we'll look at it and we'll talk about it. It's good. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And seconded. Somebody's going to second it. Okay. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't